This is Soda Pop from Soda Hughes, and you are watching the Malak channel. And today we've got a manga episode. We're going to be looking at the standalone manga, All You Need Is Kill. The original story by Hiroshi Sakurazaka, and the art by Takeshi Obata. And it's based off of, I think, one of those novels. And eventually a movie, The Edge of Tomorrow, would be created based off of all this too. The Edge of Tomorrow with, I think, Tom Cruise, 2014 movie. Let's open it up. Yeah, the book has some great art. I would say it's just really crispy, crunchy, some nice action sequences. Even though they're chaotic, for the most part, it's distinguishable. It communicates what it's supposed to, and you can tell what's going on. And the story progresses pretty well. And I like the concept, and I know that some people, I myself, when I used to be LDS, as some of you know, I was on a mission, and I was talking with my companion at the time about a short story that I wanted to write, and he was like, geez, that sounds a lot like this movie, but you're not supposed to be watching movies while you're there. So I had never heard of The Edge of Tomorrow at that point, which was kind of discouraging. But in that same vein, yeah, it's got, very, very minor spoiler. It's kind of like in the description for most of the listings of the book. The book kind of has a Groundhog Day kind of thing going on. But, sometimes people say that something being done before is, a reason to just never revisit or reinterpret it again. I disagree with that. Some of my favorite things are remixes and adaptations and new perspectives and takes. And so I think, someday I think I am going to write that short story idea, because I think it is different enough. But, yeah, it's kind of got, thinking of other things, like Russian Doll, and even this story, kind of that Groundhog Day thing, but I still love it. I think it is an interesting thing, an interesting story device. The construction of the book is great. It feels slightly sturdier than most manga. The pages have got a decent weight, nice little ivory color, and the cover is pretty substantial. Kind of got that soft cover laminate leathery feel, which I like on soft cover books. Definitely prefer it over the kind of gloss laminate. I don't know. I just think it's nice. Let me just double check to make sure it's still recording. Yep. Sometimes I get paranoid about that. Now this does have some, there's this thing that I call anime bullshit. And I feel like anyone familiar with anime kind of already knows what I'm talking about. Weird side plots. Sometimes there's like a random swimsuit episode for no reason. Someone conveniently walking into someone getting dressed or taking a shower. And the weird embarrassment involved in that situation. Maybe the main character says, okay, now I'll take off my clothes because I've seen you naked, just to make the situation less awkward, which of course it doesn't. Big floppy titties. Orgasmic moans and grunts, convenient upskirt shot, that kind of stuff. And sometimes it can also just be like weird deviations in tone. Kind of like how in the middle of this there's like a random, the middle of this chaos, risk of the world stuff. There's a sour plum eating contest that happens, which is just kind of bizarre. But overall, I feel like the character development and story progresses along nicely. I would say it's worth a read, but we'll probably get into it, but there's going to be some spoilers involved. So if you are worried about spoilers, maybe head out at this point, because I kind of want to talk about one specific frame that really like kind of ruins the whole book for me and makes me want to call the manga All You Need Is Kill a disappointment. And we're getting there soon. And there it is. So again, if you really don't want to have spoilers, it might be in your best interest to have maybe clicked on another one of my videos. So right here, this is the death of one of the other most important characters besides the protagonist, kind of what becomes the love interest of the protagonist and also sort of the ultimate enemy at the end in the great final battle, which you eventually understand why. But this, the way it is framed in the pages leading up to it, you understand that it's supposed to be an extremely potent and emotional moment, but I feel like it's undercut by fan service, and maybe we need to talk a little bit about fan service. For me, I'm not against fan service. I just feel like maybe there's a time and place for everything, sort of thing, In fact, I feel like kind of right now we deal with the sort of Brave New World dilemma where, we've got on the one hand one camp that's, trying to hypersexualize you or the way you see other individuals, or trying to exploit that to gain money or power, or try and convince you to do the same in all aspects of life and in very extreme ways. And then on the other hand, you have another camp that's, very dry and disconnected and kind of wants to desexualize everything. And maybe sometimes even tries to make people feel shameful for any sort of sexuality. And, if someone subscribes to one of those camps and they aren't hurting anyone and doing it with consent, I'm fine with that. But for me personally, I feel like I want to land somewhere in the middle. And I think it's important to some individuals and maybe to society as a whole to have, examples of that. And I think sometimes fan service can sometimes be a playful way to integrate that into some media. If it undercuts or damages the primary narrative, then it's not fan service anymore. And I feel like sometimes, sexuality and psychosexuality can even be a part of the main narrative. If, the love interest, maybe a spoiler for Silent Hill 2, I think, if the love interest of the main character was displayed in her death and she looked kind of sexualized, it would be an interesting play that the character would be participating in, because one of the themes of that is the guilt the main character feels for his sexual desire he experiences while having his higher desire of wanting to take care of his sick and dying wife. And kind of forcing the player to experience that too would be kind of interesting and would participate in the main narrative I feel like, without getting in the way of it. Here, we have a main narrative that I feel like is definitely damaged by the sexualization of this character in this moment. I feel like I'm supposed to feel very sad and tragic, feel loss in this moment, feel the poetry of the moment. But the frame seems to scream, look at how hot she is, or like, oh my God, look at those tits, which I feel like is not appropriate for the narrative that we're supposed to be experiencing. And I guess someone could argue like, hey, Soda, that's just your male gaze talking. And I don't know about that. If I were to happen upon a dying individual on the battlefield and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, they look too hot, You know, maybe that would be definitely my problem in the way I see people. But in this instance, previous to this, for the most part, I was pretty immersed in the story, and I feel like I'm experiencing it along. But this pulled me out of it, and I began to think about how, you know, this is created by someone with their own thoughts and desires, someone with motives. You know, what were they thinking when they did this? And I don't know. I'm looking at this with the understanding that this wasn't just the way things were. Someone very deliberately, I feel like, sexualized her in this moment that I feel is inappropriate. But I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit more of a heavy conversation than you expected coming to this review. What do you think about it all? What do you think about fan service, and specifically this frame within this manga? How do you feel about it all? I'm interested to hear your opinions in the comments. But yeah, I feel like it kind of ruins kind of one of the main moments of this manga, and kind of, in many ways, just kind of screws up the payoff, I feel like. Which is really unfortunate because I felt like it was a good concept with nice art. I feel like maybe having like alternate art at the end would have been better if you wanted to have some of that fan servicey stuff. But yeah, in that moment, I just felt like it was wrong. And so while I think this one is a worthwhile experience, if you want to have this manga in your collection, that's cool. It's definitely well done, well crafted, but I can't help but say that I feel like in the end it's a bit of a disappointment because of that. So yeah, thank you for tuning into this episode of Manga. Be sure to like and subscribe so I can keep doing this. Check out the Patreon. Check out some of those benefits, like getting your name in the credits and choosing what video will be uploaded next. You can vote on that each month. And again, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing some thoughts in the comments, hopefully. I hope to see you again. Take care.
You're such a